going on, man? We back for Getting Buckets episode 12, man. Off-season edition. Bro, it's the best time for NBA fans. Honestly, if you're a sports fan and you like, big moves, acquisitions, trades, signings, bro, the NBA, I think NBA is leaps and bounds above the NFL, MLB, any other sports leagues you want to name. I think when it comes to the off-season and big moves happening, there's nothing like the NBA. And because of that, I want to get into it and make some of my predictions before we get to the actual stuff that happens on Tuesday when free agency actually starts. But before we get into all that, man, make sure I hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all sharing. Make sure y'all follow all the social media handles at the top. I would really appreciate that, man. And yeah, man, just make sure y'all sharing and getting that word out. A lot of content finna come in this offseason too, because it's gonna be a lot of moves, I'm telling you. And later part of this summer, we get to football and fantasy football, so stay tuned for that. But as I mentioned, man, off season, and I'd be remiss not to have my Laker wish list. And so I'm about to give y'all this rundown of what I think the Lakers need to really propel themselves into being legit, true contenders in 2026. And I think the obvious and most glaring need for the Los Angeles Lakers is getting a big. They got to get a center. I think they need two centers, and that's obviously going to happen either with trades or through free agents. And I wrote down right here who I think are the best fits when I was going through the available centers. I like Clint Capella. I like Brook Lopez. I like Miles Turner, Mason Plumlee. I like Bobo. Clint Capella, I like. He's not 7 foot tall, but he's 6'9". He's athletic. He's one of them guys that he's catching lobs. He's a lob threat. He can block some shots here and there. He's solid. But what I like about him is really that price tag. I think is going to be cheap enough for the Lakers to get, and that's something that they're going to be focusing on. Is really that price tag, which is I wrote down Miles Turner. But I just think the way he played in the playoffs, he probably played himself into a bigger contract than he probably was going to get prior to his playoff run. And because of that, I think he's going to play himself ultimately, or he played himself ultimately out of the Lakers' price range. I don't know if the Lakers want to pay all that money to a guy like that. Because he's a good piece, but he's not the piece. And so I don't know if because I think he's going to get 20 plus million. And I don't know if a Laker want to be invested in, and he's 30 already, so I don't know if they want to be invested in that. Granted, I do think he'd be a great perfect fit for what the Lakers need. I think the price is going to be the biggest component of where the Lakers go in their centers. So I like guys like Clint Capella, as I mentioned, price tag. Brook Lopez, I think his price tag is going to be cheaper because he's an older guy now in the league now. He's probably 36, 37 now. He's one of the older guys in the league, and so I don't think his price tag is going to be hefty. And he fulfills that part of the Lakers needing rim protection. The latter part of his years, man, Brook Lopez has been a real rim protector, which is something he wasn't to begin his career. But the end part of his career that he's been with Milwaukee, bro, he's been a presence down there in that back line of the defense. And so he can do that. He can space the floor, which will help the Lakers. And he can obviously, he's not jumping out the gym, but he can finish at the rim, which will also help Luka, Bron, AR, those guys. But if you want straight lob threats and defense, you got guys like another guy, like I mentioned, in Mason Plumlee. That guy, and he can pass too, which I think is very underrated in his game. But I think he's a very high IQ player. I think his IQ for that center position is extreme, and he can definitely catch lobs. He can defend. He can switch out at times and guard smaller players on the wing, which is a great advantage to have from your center because not many of them can do it in the NBA. And when you have that, it allows your defense to be so much better because you can have so many more different packages because you trust in your center to switch rather than being scared of them just getting fried and cooked on the perimeter because that's all the NBA is now. It's really a lot of switching. And so when you have a guy like Anthony Davis, not that he's Anthony Davis, but when you have those kind of guys that can switch 1 through 5 and play all positions, it puts you at an advantage defensively that many other teams can't reach unless they have a guy just like that themselves. And I think Mason Plumlee can switch out there at times and give the Lakers a nice piece defensively. He'll definitely clean up rebounds, which the Lakers needed. As you saw, they allowed Rudy Gobert in that final game. And Rudy Gobert is not that guy. But it went to show you the lack of size the Lakers really just had, that it allowed Rudy Gobert to have that kind of game, because he's not that guy at all. He is really not that guy. And so I think Mason Plumlee would fit. So I think if we're talking about, and I think the Lakers are going to go out and try to get two bigs. So I think Jackson Hayes is also a free agent, and I don't know if they're going to bring him back. If I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't bring back Jackson Hayes. In the bench role, he's fine, but honestly, I think you can even upgrade him on the bench. So ideally, I think if the Lakers could, if it was me, I'd go Clint Capella. I'd love to bring in Clint Capella off that bench somewhere. Maybe even a starter. If you absolutely have to, he can start as well. So that's not bad. But I think trade targets. I think a trade target is the most likely destination. I think they're going to trade for a center no matter what this offseason. And the two that I thought of were Nick Claxton and Robert Williams III. I think all of those guys. I think both of those guys fit exactly what the Lakers need: rim protection, lob threat, switch 1 through 5. As I mentioned, they're not spacing the floor, either one of them, but they're young. They can grow with Luka. You can pair him with Luka and AR if you keep him for the long haul, post Bron and whatnot. And you always have that center position anchored, which is something you need with Luka, and something Luka has always wanted was that lob threat. And when you have guys on the perimeter that aren't the greatest defenders like Austin Reeves and Luka, you need guys back there that can clean up that mess. And Nick Claxton, Robert Williams III, clean up that mess. Absolutely, they will. And so I think if you're a Lakers fan like me, I think my expectation is I think they're going to go out and try to trade for one of those two guys. And then hopefully add another backup like a Clint Capella, like a Mason Plumlee on like a vet minimum type deal. But without question, no matter whichever way they go, whether they don't trade, whether it's all free agency, or whether they make a trade, the number one priority is center. If they finish this free agency period without having drafted a center, you can kiss any real title chance next year for the Lakers out the window. It's not going to be there. They have to get a big. It's just that simple. I think Luka and LeBron can do a lot, but what ultimately what they can't do is be 7 foot tall and clean up that back line. And so because of that, you got to get that center. And so those are the players I think is really going to happen. And in trades, I think it's going to be, you guys are going to have to. I think Rui is on the mend. I think Austin Reeves, I don't think they're really going to trade Austin Reeves unless they get a player or some kind of package that they just can't refuse. Other than that, I think Austin Reeves is going to be a Laker. I'd say it's more of like a 70 to 80% chance Austin Reeves is still a Laker unless they're just blown away by an offer. But I think Rui Hachimura, I think it's very 50-50, if not 60-40, that he'll be traded. Because I think he's a piece that he's good, and I love Rui. But I think what Rui's missing is that dog. He doesn't have that dog mentality. And those other guys, Robert Williams, as I mentioned, Nick Claxton, as I mentioned, those guys, they got that dog mentality, and they fill positions that the Lakers absolutely need. You can replace Hachimura's production, whether it's through Dalton Connect, who's going to be a year improved. You got Dorian Finney-Smith. However, you still got to re-sign him, obviously. He has a player option. He might opt into it. I think the Lakers should offer him a multi-year deal just to lock him in, because he's one of them 3-and-D guys you just need to win in the NBA now. You need 3-and-D guys, athletic 3-and-D guys at that. So you need that guy to keep him. But you got Dalton Connect, as I mentioned. They just drafted Adu Thero. They're hoping he evolves into something. You obviously got Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James. So you got wings and scoring. And Rui Hachimura isn't the greatest defender at that. He gets lost a lot on defense. And so I think he's very expendable because of what you got on this roster. So you can definitely ship him somewhere and go get a big that fills the need. And that instantly puts the Lakers into if they don't make any other move but acquiring a center, it takes them from wherever they're at here and they go here. So if I'm the Lakers, bro, that's obviously move number one. And I think all fans feel that way if you're a Laker fan. Number two, the need is, it's not necessarily the big is the need, but these are more like what I think would make the Lakers roster absolutely complete. One, I think add one more 3-and-D wing, which they drafted Adu Thero, as I mentioned, and they might have him planning to be that 3-and-D guy. But if they can add a 3-and-D wing somewhere, whether it's a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who played for Minnesota last year, Whether it's some other free agent. I think Bruce Brown's a free agent. Those kind of guys. If they can add one more of those guys, I think that also puts them just so because you have Vando, you have Dorian Finney-Smith, but if you can get a smaller guy, I'd say when I say a wing, not even like 6'7", 6'8", but like a more of a guard that can really get down and lock up guards. Nickeil Alexander-Walker would be my number one choice for that. Of like realistic options. If I had a dream choice though, I'd go and get Trey Murphy. Now that's obviously, as I mentioned, that's my dream Laker acquisition would be Trey Murphy. Because I think Trey Murphy's going to grow into a superstar. But right now he can come in and he can fit right into this Lakers team alongside Bron and Luka. He's going to get so many open shots. And he's big. He's like 6'8", 6'9", long arms, athletic as hell. Can shoot the hell out of the ball, shoot the piss out the ball. Can get in and he can score on his own, which is something he's developed. Last season we saw he was able to develop into being able to go get it on his own. And so you can only expect that his game is going to keep improving, keep advancing. So that would be my dream target for the Los Angeles Lakers, would be a Trey Murphy. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's probably one of my top 5 favorite players in the NBA. Because I think he's going to be special in this league. But if the Lakers can acquire him, and I don't think that's very realistic because I don't know how New Orleans feels about him. And I don't think New Orleans really wants to trade him. They're probably going to want to keep him and build him and Zion and whatnot around. So that's not really realistic. But dream-wise, that's what I'd want. But yeah, them 3D guys, Trey Murphy type, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker types, the Bruce Brown types, those kind of guys would absolutely work. Another like wing / center kind of guy, Chris Boucher, that I wrote down here from Toronto. He's long, 6'9", can block shots, can guard on the perimeter, can shoot a little bit. He'd just be a nice piece that you can definitely get for probably close to minimum, if not the minimum, which is what the Lakers are going to be looking for, that price tag. So that's another guy to keep an eye on. And I think if you can acquire one more of those guys, you get a big. I think there's one thing else that they need, and that's, I think, a stabilizer off the bench in terms of a backup point guard. And I think Chris Paul would be a perfect fit for that. And it's known that Chris Paul really just wants to come back. If he's going to play next year, he wants to be back in LA so he can be with his kids. And I think he's a perfect fit. Not only would that make him happy, and he'd want to sign here, but he's a perfect fit for the Lakers because I think he can still play defense. He's not what he once was defensively, but he's still going to create havoc defensively, and he's going to be able to run the show and stabilize things when Luka's on the bench, LeBron's on the bench, or you can play with both of them. Particularly him and Bron on the court together, I think would be insane. But I think that's what you need, a stabilizer. Somebody, I love what Gabe Vincent brings, but I just think at what he brings is not enough for the Lakers. I think if he was giving us more Miami Heat production with his defense, I would say so. But I think Chris Paul could come in and he's going to make life easy for LeBron, any bigs that the Lakers get, for Dalton to connect. And off the bench, he's going to be able to. I think when the Lakers got in trouble a lot because they had to. As much as I love Austin Reeves, I don't know if I just want him out there just handling the ball all the time. Obviously, he has his games where he can do that, but I don't know. And now he has an offseason to improve, so we'll see what happens. But I think if you allow that second unit to run and give Bron more rest, which he's going to need going into his 23rd season. So you give him more rest and you allow Chris Paul to really control. Now you bring Chris Paul off the bench and you allow him to run with Bron and Austin Reeves while Luka's sitting there. You have a stabilizer, and LeBron still doesn't have to carry the load and whatnot. And you don't have to worry about Austin Reeves trying to do too much, because I believe sometimes he tries to do too much, and that causes a lot of turnovers sometimes. And he didn't play well in the playoffs. Austin Reeves, that is. So he's got some amends to make, and we're gonna see if he make them. He's trying to play himself in a payday. They said he just turned down 4 years, $90 million. So he trying to get. They said he gonna try to get probably over 150. So we're gonna see. But if you play like how he played in this last playoffs, that's not $150 million worthy. So it's going to be a lot of questions. But I think Chris Paul, one more 3-and-D wing, and a big preferably 2, so you can sub. But if you want to go small after you take out the center, that's fine. But you got to have a serviceable big. And so those will be my 3 big needs for the Lakers. And as I said, some of this might be in trades, and I said expect trades with guys like Rui Hachimura. Expect trades with guys like Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber. I think those are the 3 that the Lakers are really going to try to look to trade to upgrade that roster in whichever way and form they see is best for them. I think it's going to be those 3 guys on the man. Like I said, Austin Reeves, I don't believe he gets traded unless there's some offer that they really can't refuse. Other than that, I believe he's going to be a Los Angeles Laker next year, and I believe he's going to ultimately re-sign with the Lakers if the Lakers keep him. Because if they don't trade him, they got to be planning to pay him whatever he wants. Otherwise, you're going to trade him and get something, because there's teams that want him. So you can definitely get good players back. And so I believe if Austin Reeves is still on this roster by the time the season starts, he's going to be a Laker, and he's ultimately going to sign whatever the Lakers are going to give him a lot of money, because he's a free agent at the end of this year. So it's time. It's time for one of 2 things to happen. And so he's either going to sign or he's going to be traded. We'll find out very, very soon. So yeah, that's my Lakers offseason wish list. My best landing spots for the Lake Show. I want to get into some more landing spots for other guys. I mentioned Miles Turner. I do believe his best landing spot is the Lakers. I believe any center's landing spot, their top landing spot should be with the Los Angeles Lakers, because 1, it's a glaring need, so you know you're going to start and get a lot of playing time. And 2, you're playing with guys that are looking to get you the ball. Luka Doncic, looking to get you the ball. LeBron James, looking to get you the ball. Austin Reeves, good passer. If they sign a guy like Chris Paul, you know he's looking to get you the ball. And so I believe most centers, but Miles Turner is one of the bigger free agents, and I believe his number 1 landing spot should be the Lakers. However, as I mentioned, that price tag is going to be hefty. And because of that price tag, I don't know if the Lakers are going to get him. But this is just me naming best fits. I believe it's Miles Turner to the Lakers for Miles Turner. One of the other top free agents who I also have always loved is Malcolm Brogdon. I believe he's one of them guys, like he's a winner. He makes that team. He makes teams better. And at that point guard position, I believe he'd be a good piece for a team like the Bucks, because there is no Damian Lillard. He's not playing next year because of his torn Achilles. So I think he would be a good addition and piece for that team to help stabilize how he would have to go more into his scoring bag on that team. So that'd be more. I have 2 other teams for him. He'd probably be on that third. The Bucks probably be the 3rd team for him. The second best fit, I believe, for a Malcolm Brogdon would be the Heat, because then he doesn't have to be too much of a scorer. You got Bam, you got Tyler Hero, you got Andrew Wiggins, who also might be on the chopping block in a trade, as we've seen in reports. But you got more scorers around that team where he can kind of come and play his defense, give you that 10 to 15 a night, but you don't have to necessarily worry about his scoring all the time. And settle the pace, control the game, get guys involved, make sure the right guys are getting shots. I think that's what Malcolm Brogdon brings. He's one of those guys, like an Andre Miller type player. I think he's the modern day Andre Miller. And they're just guys that are winners, and they know how to get a team right. And I think the Heat would benefit a lot from that, and not having Tyler Hero have to play point guard, because he's not a point guard. And so I think the Heat are missing a point guard, and Malcolm Brogdon fills that role perfectly. Another spot would be the Pacers for Malcolm Brogdon, because we know Tyrese Halliburton is out. And they got a lot of scoring. They share the ball. They push the pace. And I think he's perfect for that, because he can come in and kind of play that Tyrese Halliburton role. Because as I mentioned, he's not somebody that's coming in looking to gun shots and whatnot. He's coming in to run the team, be a true point guard. He can score when he needs to, but he's playing defense. He's getting guys involved. He's doing the little things. He's getting rebounds. He's boxing out, that kind of thing. So he can come in and be that stabilizing force, I think. And then you still allow T.J. McConnell to be that spark plug off the bench. I think you take away some of the Pacers' magic if you make T.J. McConnell have to start. I think some of their magic is him being that energizer bunny off the bench. And so I don't know if you want to move him to the starting lineup. So I think Malcolm Brogdon allows you to keep TJ in that spot while having a guy that can replace Tyrese Halliburton for the year. D'Angelo Russell, another free agent. And I only got one spot for him, and I think it's Milwaukee. This is assuming Giannis Antetokounmpo is staying in Milwaukee, by the way, which I believe he should request a trade. But in the event he stays in Milwaukee, they need somebody there that can go and light up a scoreboard with Giannis Antetokounmpo, because right now they don't have enough. And I think D'Angelo Russell, granted, he's always up and down. You don't know what you're gonna get, but he's gonna shoot the ball, and I think with Giannis you need that. And they're not going to be able to zone in on if you that pick and roll with him and Giannis. I think D'Lo's a good passer out the pick and roll. I just think for him it's being in the right headspace and not trying to do too much. I think sometimes he tries to prove a point, and he just got to play his game. Like D'Lo is gifted. He just got to play his game and play smart. And I think with Giannis and with the Bucks, he'd be in a situation where maybe he could earn himself a nice little 2-year, 3-year contract after this year. Because I think right now he's playing himself into a position where he's going to be like one of those guys that's like he's going to be he's not going to make the money he was making at this point. But I think a year with the Bucks where he goes and helps Giannis get into the playoffs, I still don't believe that's a championship title team. But if he gets Giannis into the playoffs and plays well in the playoffs, he can find himself a nice payday on the back end. So I like D'Angelo Russell to the Bucks. Bruce Brown, another key free agent. I think his number one spot. Best fit would be a team that needs him, the Denver Nuggets, who he was already on that team, a part of that championship team, and they let him go. But they don't have KCP anymore. They don't have Bruce Brown anymore, and that's what they're missing. They need that 3-and-D guy that can play defense, lock up, and he can handle the ball a little bit, take a little bit of pressure off Jamal Murray and him having to do everything. But they need those guys on the perimeter. They got Jamal, they got Nikola Jokic, but they need those. They got Aaron Gordon. But they need those 2 and 3 guards to be consistent and allow them to play good basketball, which is when they won. They had that, as I mentioned. They had Bruce Brown. They had KCP, Christian Brown. Christian Brown is okay, but I don't think he's like reached a level of like where he's that supreme role player yet, which I believe Bruce Brown has been that role player, and he can easily do it again on that team in a winning environment. I think he can do it in any team. But especially a team in a winning environment, and that's what he did have going back to Denver. But I also think another team that lost just a little bit of their defensive presence, but didn't lose a lot of depth, the Houston Rockets. But he can come in and kind of take right back over for that Dylan Brooks role. Let him play defense, let him shoot a couple threes, and now you have Kevin Durant instead of Jalen Green. Kevin Durant, much better than Jalen Green. And you have Bruce Brown, who I believe he's probably better than Dylan Brooks. In a simple fact, he's got more that he can. I think he's a better all-around offensive player than Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks can knock down an open shot, can shoot a little bit of a midi, but when it comes to Bruce Brown, I believe he can handle the ball. He can find open teammates. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can get all the way to the rim. He does all those things, and he can play just as good, if not better, defense than Dylan Brooks without all the drama that comes with it. And because of that, I like him. I like Bruce Brown also being a member of the Houston Rockets, and you insert him, Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant. You trot that 4 out with Sengun at the 5. That's a nice starting lineup right there. You got a lot of versatility, a lot of switching, a lot of shooting outside of Amen. But I think that's a nice pairing. And lastly, the last one I want to talk about was Russell Westbrook, who opted out of his contract with the Denver Nuggets. I like him for the Pacers too, because as I mentioned, they need that guy that's going to push the pace and fulfill the Tyrese Halliburton role of getting guys open shots and doing that. And Russell Westbrook, if he goes there, he's gonna be able to be MVP Russ. Not that he's still as good of a player as MVP Russ was, but I think he's gonna have the freedom to be MVP Russ, and he'll be back to them triple-double numbers. Probably, I don't think he's ever gonna be 30 points again. I don't think he's ever gonna be 25 points again. But telling me he can, I think he can still be somewhere between 18 and 20 points per night, along with another 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He can do that still. And on a team like that with those snipers, you got Siakam. If they re-sign Miles Turner, you got a shooter out there. I think he comes in and helps them through this gap year where they have no Tyrese Halliburton, even more so than Malcolm Brogdon would, because I believe the upside of Russ is higher. And because of that, I like Russ to the Pacers. I also like Russ to the Celtics, though. With Jason Tatum out all next year, you kind of need a running mate with Jaylen Brown, and with all them snipers and shooters, where you got Derek White, and there's no more Porzingis, but you got Sam Hauser, you got Peyton Pritchard off the bench, you got these guys, and you can allow Jaylen Brown, Al Horford if he comes back, and you allow Russ to play with that kind of freedom and that kind of pace and space. I think he fits in there perfectly. He's going to get a lot of guys. I think he adds a dimension that they haven't had, that just go get it. And when he's on that one-man fast break, I think he's going to get a lot of guys easy shots. Not only himself when he can get it and push, but when he gets out and he pushes and they have to collapse on him, he's going to find guys in the corner. You just got to live with the bad. You're going to have to live with some of the bad games that you're going to get from Russ, because that's inevitable. But and you just hope that he has more good than bad games. And that's entirely possible with that Boston Celtics roster. So those are my best landing spots, man. Lastly, I just wanted to tap into some of these trade that we've seen already. And there's no bigger trade than Kevin Durant to the Rockets, as I've talked about a little bit already. But I love the trade. I said it before, right after that series. I said when Jalen Green scored less than 10 points. He scored less than 10 points in 4 out of 6 games in that Warrior series. Your best player can't do that. It's one thing to shoot poorly. It's another thing not to score 10 points. And he was pretty much scoring as much as all of us. And that's a problem, because he's getting paid probably $30, $40, $50 million, somewhere in that range. And they were paying him to be the best player and hopefully be that next guy, and he'd improve it. But now they've got Kevin Durant, and all they gave up was him and Dylan Brooks, and 1 pick this year and a couple second-round picks. And they still got their depth. They still got Cam Whitmore. They still got Amen Thompson. They still got Tari Eason. They still got Jabari Smith. They still got Sengun. They still got Fred VanVleet. They got all these guys. They still got Reed Shepherd. So they got the depth. And now you got the go-to guy. That's what I said. I said, why did I pick the Warriors against the Rockets? I said, they don't have a go-to guy. When the going gets tough, who are they going to? They went to Jalen Green, and he had no answers. He had less than 10 points in 4 out of 6 games, as I mentioned. And when you got no answers as the best player, you can't be on my team no more. And the Rockets figured that out. And they got him up out of there, and they went and got Easy Money Sniper. That 7-foot assassin. Arguably the greatest scorer in the history of basketball. When it comes to just getting the bucket, there's nobody that gets it easier than Kevin Durant. And now, going into next season, teams have to plan. You still have that grit, that defense that you had before. But now you got a guy that can go close and win those close games that you didn't have now. And so now a defense got a plan for Kevin Durant. I don't think teams really cared about Jalen Green that much, because I don't think they believe Jalen Green can beat him. They know Kevin Durant can beat him. So now they're going to come in with a game plan for Kevin Durant, which should be able to open up a guy like Alperen Sengun, who didn't play great at times, but he played good at times as well. So when he can figure out that balance, that'll help them. And with a guy like KD, less pressure on Sengun. With a guy like KD, less pressure on Amen Thompson, who's only going to keep getting better as he continues to grow into the NBA. Fred VanVleet, who's a stabilizer. You know what he can do for you. So along with all the bench guys, Jabari Smith, I believe he had a fantastic playoff series against Golden State. I just don't believe Jalen Green gave them enough. But I believe Kevin Durant will give them enough and give them that extra push to be real competitive in the Western Conference. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win a championship, because I believe the West next year is going to have a good 10 teams, like real solid good 10 teams that can all make the playoffs and all win a championship. But even with that, that means 2 teams that are really good can't make the playoffs. So, but that's what happens in the Wild Wild West. This morning, off of KD transitioning to Lonzo Ball, this morning, Lonzo Ball got traded to the Cavs. And I don't really know how this is going to work. I don't know how you're playing. Obviously, he's going to come off the bench, but I'm just not sure how this is going to work with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Lonzo Ball's best is at his best when he's able to make plays for others. When is he going to have the ball to make plays for others? With Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. They only gave up Okoro, so in that sense, I don't believe that they can necessarily lose this trade. I just don't know how Lonzo Ball is necessarily going to fit properly and be Lonzo Ball. That I think Lonzo Ball is a very good player, and I think other teams could have used him and used him to a higher ceiling than the Cavs, because he's probably gonna end up playing off the ball. Maybe you play him. Maybe that second unit is not going to be running him and Donovan Mitchell. I don't think you can run him and Garland, because Garland definitely needs to have the ball because he's more of a prototypical point guard. Granted, he can score, and he's more of a scoring guard, obviously, but he's still looking to get guys involved. Donovan Mitchell, maybe you have him play more off the ball and you bring Lonzo off the bench for Darius Garland, and you try to run it like that, maybe. He brings defensive versatility for sure. He brings IQ. He brings grit. He brings toughness. I just feel like with both of your two best players being guards, bringing in another guard that needs the ball and handles the ball doesn't make much sense. So that's why I don't like the move that much. But when you think about, as I said, they only gave up Isaac Okoro, so that's not much that they're losing. Okoro's a good player, but he never developed his offensive game past the point. Honestly, from when he honestly got into the league. Like, I feel like now he's going into what year? I think it was 2020 class. So now he's going into what, year 6? Year 5, year 6, and his offensive game is still kind of right where it was at when he got drafted. And so they didn't lose much. I just don't know how much they're going to be able to really use Lonzo to its full capability. Lastly, we got the Boston Celtics, and they tore down their roster as I mentioned on the pod, man. And when Jason Tatum got hurt, there was no way that they were bringing this roster back with all that money invested in them and that big luxury tax bill that they were going to have to pay. There's no way that this roster was coming back. And, Kristaps Porzingis is now a Houston Rocket. I mean, not a Houston Rocket. He's an Atlanta Hawk. And Drew Holiday, man. Drew Holiday is a Portland Trailblazer, which means he also will probably get traded again. Which is kind of funny because he got traded from Portland to the Celtics, and then they just traded him right back to Portland. I don't believe the Hawks are true contenders. I believe Drew Holiday will get traded again. But for the Celtics, man, purely cash dumps. They got Anthony Simons back, and now there's rumblings that he's not even going to stay a Celtic and that they may be looking to dump him again. He is on an expiring contract, which leaves me to believe I think they're going to keep him, because he is on that expiring contract, so he can get off the books after next year. But he kind of provides that scoring punch, as I mentioned, Russ could kind of bring, along with Jaylen Brown. He can bring that while Jason Tatum is out. Because you're not getting Jason Tatum back until the year after this one. He's not playing in 2026. So you can just let him sit, and then the following year you figure out what you got. You still got Derek White, you got Jaylen Brown, unless you end up trading him for an offer you can't refuse. Anthony Simons, if you re-sign him, I doubt you do. Like I said, expiring contract. We'll see. Horford's older. You want to re-sign Sam Hauser probably. You want to re-sign. Actually, you just re-signed the backup point guard, and I'm forgetting his name right now. It's slipping my mind. Peyton Pritchard. You just re-signed him. So there's a lot of question marks going on with that Celtics roster, and how they're going to continue and move forward. Because next year is a gap year. So it's very interesting to see. But yeah, man, I just wanted to tap in real quick episode, man, to tap in about some free agency. I'm going to tap in more daily for free agency, because news is going to drop very fast, especially that first day or two. Definitely going to come back, have a lot of info, a lot of reaction. But yeah, man, make sure y'all tap in to Getting Buckets, man. Follow all the socials. That's all I got to say, man. Offseason finna get cracking, as we love to see. But yeah, man, it's been real. This is episode 12. Hope y'all loved it. Hope y'all liked it. Make sure y'all share, man. Follow, subscribe. You dig what I'm saying? I'm out. I'll catch y'all for the next one.